Everybody, it's Tim Hinton, the beast of the marching arts. We are live on all the socials, and we are here to talk about how to write drill, everybody. And we have the guru of drill writing with us, Joe Hulse. Joe, how are you?
Fantastic. How's it going over there?
Well, here, great. Of course, Joe, you are across the pond, as they say. How are things in the UK?
Very good. Yeah, very good. Spring has sprung, starting to get some flowers and some nice weather here, so it's good.
Great. And also on the call with us today is Brian Arzola. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
So everybody watching, we're so glad you're watching. We are live here, and comment, tell us where you're watching from. And if you have any questions about drill writing, we have Joe's giant drill writing brain here that we're going to be picking and asking questions during this session. So Joe, why don't you just introduce yourself first in case anybody doesn't know who you are. Of course, I will say you're the creator of the How to Write Drill course, Learn the Basics of Pieware and Drill Design. That is at Marching Arts Education. Anybody can sign up for that. So I've said that part. Joe, I'll let you fill in the rest.
Yeah, I'm the owner and CEO, I guess you could say, of Drill Design Solutions, and I write drill. I've been a visual designer for a long time, since 2003. I was a band director for 14 years in the state of Georgia, and loved it. And now I've gone kind of full-time visual design, and over the last couple of years, I've just been putting my drill design experience and my Pieware experience into kind of digital form to help beginners and even veteran folks that want to get into the software and learn it easier. So I've really enjoyed putting together all my videos, my YouTube channel, and I love talking Pieware and talking shop. And so nothing in Pieware scares me too much. I've been using the software my whole drill design career, and just trying to share that and help people out.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, Joe, not to like one up you, but I've been doing Pieware since you like basically had a hamster on a wheel making it run, because I've been like really, really early on. But I think it's a great program, and the advancements they've made over the years, it's just amazing. So let's go to Brian for a minute. Brian, tell everybody who you are in the world and why you're here on this call.
My name is Brian. I am currently a member of the Boston Crusaders tuba section. I'm also just starting off as a visual designer. I spent this past winter working with the Lafayette Jefferson Winter Guard, my first client. And I've also been doing sessions with Joe, kind of learning to familiarize myself with the software of Pieware, learning the ins and outs of all that kind of stuff. And it's been extremely, extremely helpful.
Very cool. So everybody, we're talking all about drill design today, visual design. We're going to talk about Pieware. We're going to talk about courses and things that Joe has available and classes he's been giving to help people. We're going to talk about with Brian about his first experience writing a drill. So if you are here and you want to ask any questions, please put something in the comment section. Let us know where you're watching from. Tell your friends that we're on live because they don't want to miss this. But anyway, Joe, I have to tell you, when I'm learning something new, it's really, really helpful if you have somebody that kind of knows the ropes a little bit to walk you through it. Like for example, I've just been learning to bake. And I can, over the last couple of years, and I'm actually getting pretty good at it now, but like at the beginning, I threw a lot of chocolate cakes, like straight into the bin, shall we say, because they were so terrible. But it's really helpful to have somebody that you can like, okay, let me stand here next to you and like, okay, here's the right way to do this mixing over here. And here's the right way to actually do your flour. Like it's helpful if you have somebody that knows what they're doing. And that's what I love about what you're doing. Like in a couple hours, I can watch this course online and you like get me going. It's somebody sort of standing next to me, encouraging me, getting me going through the process of how it works. I mean, is that part of your concept behind putting this together?
Yeah, pretty much when I started putting the course together, I kind of took my experience from photography, because I also do a lot of video and photography work, and I was trying to learn Photoshop and trying to learn Lightroom and Adobe Premiere and some of these high-end software for those types of things. And it was really interesting learning what people call, is their workflow, the from beginning to end, how you do things in the program to make everything as efficient as possible. And so where I saw lots of videos or little things on websites that were, here's this tool and here's what it does, I didn't see, here's how you can apply it to your drill. And so for me, what I wanted to do is say, here's how it is, to take you through a drill from beginning to end. And then of course there's got to be practice with the tools, how to create transitions and that sort of thing. But there is a process that if you do it and you save it a certain way, and Pyware does a great job of adding these things that you can change and manipulate on the program so that every time it's always set up that way, and it saves you a ton of time. So when I put it together, I tried to think of what could I do to help that drill designer be much more efficient with their time, because we know that the creating part sometimes can take a long time. The last thing you want to do is waste a bunch of other time just trying to label things or save things a certain way or export things a certain way. So that was kind of my approach when putting it all together.
I love that. Everybody, we're talking about drill design. We're talking about Joe Hulls and his How to Write Drill, Pyware, and Drill Design Basics courses at martialartseducation.com. Now, Brian, how did you show up into this world? You have been getting some help from Joe as well?
Yes. So he started offering these sessions, group sessions. So a few people that would just get together. We would watch him. He would send us an assignment. In the first case, we had just a theoretical scenario of a beginner band meets a few times a week. How would we go about writing drill for a certain song that they were doing? And we basically worked off of that scenario, wrote a show for that. And that was very valuable to just go through that scenario, kind of see what would I do if I had, maybe a less experienced group who has less rehearsal time. How would I go ahead and tackle that issue? And, I thought that I would be learning just mostly about drill, but the most valuable parts were actually the organization, as he was talking about, how to work with the production sheet, how to more efficiently label your performers to help yourself work in the future. It was very, very helpful.
That's very cool. Joe, why is Brian here? And tell me about your experience of working with him and what those people in these classes have been learning.
Yeah, we've got one more session in May, on May the 7th and the 21st. And the sessions, I kind of designed them where if you do sign up, you should probably do both in the month. So the first one is where you get the assignment. We go through it. We walk you through it. I give you a score, an MP3, and then there's an assignment that spells it all out. Here's the instrumentation of the band. They're from this state. They compete at this level, and they rehearse this much per week. They have this kind of staff. For the one that Brian did, my very first one, it was the theoretical example was a school that marches all of the kids in the band program for Friday night football games. But then there's a select group, or I think I put sophomores, juniors, and seniors are in the competitive group. So they kind of run two marching bands side by side. So the football band, if you will, needed to have a production that was entertaining, that trained the freshmen, but at the same time was easy to keep in the kids' brains every week because they only rehearsed one time a week. So just these little things to help them kind of think about how difficult should I make this? I put a page requirement on it. They weren't allowed to go over 10 pages for an entire song. And it just tried to, I think the thing about putting it in context like that is that it really makes you, I tried to give people that authentic experience. Tim, you've been writing drill for a long time. That sometimes you get that music and you're like, yes, I have got some great ideas with this music. And then they say, well, we only have time to, we're going to be done with our season in October, the second week of October. We only have this many woodwinds, and then you go, okay. And then you've got to figure out how to make what you had in your brain when you heard the music kind of fit the scenario, because you want to set that band up for success. So the sessions, I think, are an authentic kind of way to train the drill designers in a real world, more of a real world scenario, as opposed to saying, here's the Boston Crusaders. And then the Boston Crusaders can pretty much do anything, Brian. I mean, we know that they can run from here to there in 4 counts, but the high school bands, they need to have something very, very cleverly thought out and creative sometimes, because of the amount of time that they have to rehearse and the size of staff and experience of staff as well.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have those constraints because it actually helps to guide you into what you need to do. But Brian, what was that like that first time that you were trying to write an entire drill and you only had 10 charts? What was that like?
It was interesting because, previous just projects I'd done on my own to kind of train myself in the software, I just went wild. I put whatever was in my head on the page, and I of course made sure that it was doable. But my definition of doable is very different than a freshman's definition of doable, or somebody who's just never done it before. So that really helped me to be like, hey, reality check here. There's certain things that you shouldn't be asking for. Like maybe I shouldn't be transitioning guard through a block of woodwinds very, very closely, which is something that Joe did correct me on. So,
so Joe, talk about that. This is a great example of how somebody having some guidance from someone that's made all those mistakes and tried to figure it all out before. Talk about how you that example, for example, with Brian. How did you work through that with him?
So what we did is basically I took them through how I would prep to write the drill in the first session. So the first session that we had, and they would kind of watch and either mirror and match what I did, or they would just kind of watch and listen and then go ahead and do it their own way. But we would make the count sheet, and we talked about why we chose the amount of counts we had and what to plan for in all of the holds. And this sort of thing, so that we can move enough in the chart for it to be interesting and cool and train the kids well, but at the same time they can play well and be heard and be near the right voices at the right times and that sort of thing, working within that constraint of 10 pages. So we did get to the end and we were like, man, it would be great if we could just do a little 8 count move here, but that would be 11 pages. So we chose not to do it, or we put it in and said it can be an option because they could transition from there, either that page or the page before it, to the next two and that type of thing. The students did a really nice job, especially Brian. Brian took the theme and really brought it to life. It was really good. I found with all of the students, what was funny was their strength was writing for the section that they march in. So if Brian is a tuba player, all of his drill for his winds, the wind drill, was very good. It flowed really well and it was really good. The thing where and I still struggle with it too was those color guard moments. We also had another student that was on the call that the drumline drill was really good, but the wind drill maybe wasn't as thought out as to make it the most efficient or the easiest for the performers to perform. So it was cool to on the second session to go through those drills with those performers, and then they got to kind of learn, because I would try to within the session save some time for everybody so I could go through their file with them, and everybody watched each other's. And that was a really big thing that I wanted to do, because, we all learn in a group setting, better than sometimes if you just see your own work. If you see other people's work, it can really, you can glean a lot from it. So yeah, that second session was just running through everybody's drill and going page tab by page tab and saying, hey, you could get this same effect, and we could make this easier if instead of doing that follow the leader at an angle, you made it on the grid and at this, and you gave these checkpoints. And they went, oh yeah. And then everyone's marching forwards. Oh yeah. And, so it's just those little tweaks to the drill that, in those little things that I've learned, that you've learned from experience from over the last, few years that you've been writing, and Brian, who's just getting started, is going to be amazing. When he keeps going with it, it's just those little things, those nuggets that we have that we can share. And those are the things that I can't do in a tutorial, because sometimes I don't think of those in my tutorials, but then in a real life situation like these sessions, it really works. It really helps.
Very cool. Everybody, we're talking about drill writing with the drill guru, Joe Hulls. He's over in the UK. It's dinner time there, I think, instead of lunchtime. But anyway, we're talking about how to write drill, Pieware, and drill design basics, which you can find at marchingartseducation.com. So, Brian, what was that like when everybody's sitting there watching your drill and he's saying, hey, what about this? What about this? Like, I'm sure there was a sense of camaraderie, but that must have been a little bit nerve-wracking.
Very much so. So it's always, no matter what you do, I feel like there's always going to be a sense of nervousness whenever somebody who's a professional at something looks at your work with a critical glance. But in a way, that prepared me for this season. Was my first competitive drill that I put out there that was like, hey, I need to be able to hear what these people are saying and effectively put it into what I'm doing. Because if I can't take criticism very well and transform it into something actionable, then the group I'm working for is not going to go anywhere.
Well, everybody, this is really interesting. Now we have a test subject here with Brian. He wrote his first drill for a color guard. You're at Purdue, right?
Yes.
So there was a guard in your area?
Yes, one town over in Lafayette, Indiana, Lafayette Jefferson Winter Guard.
First off, how did you convince them to let you help them?
So I was their visual tech for the fall season. I grew a good relationship with the color guard director, and she didn't want to write the staging, so she said, we'll let you do it. And I know getting your foot in the door is the hardest part, getting that first one in. So I seized the opportunity. It was difficult too, because I didn't have Pieware at the time. I was writing my sample drill for them 5 sets at a time, resetting in the trial version.
Wow.
But
that is really
did end up buying it though. So
this is really interesting though. So the great thing is, and listen, if you guys go to Marching Arts Education and you just put in drill writing and drill design or anything like that in the search bar, you'll find all kinds of webinars where really top designers talk about it. And we have some like what you need to do to make that your job. Like there's a webinar about that. And here's advice for drill designers, for band directors. All the kind of content is there. So I encourage everybody to check that out. So Brian, the thing they always tell you is if you're going to be able to write for a group, it's really good if you're there. And then you can like put it on the floor and then you see like, oh man, that did not look like I thought it was going to look. Did you have any of those moments?
Oh yeah, I was at a lot of rehearsals. Even rehearsals where we weren't doing drill, I was at those rehearsals just so I could see how they did it. And they the mind of color guard performers works very differently than musicians. Musicians love coordinate sheets. They love the structure of it. I love the freedom that working with color guard members gave you. Just point and be like, hey, that's your new dot, work that out. And they were able to do it like champs. And that was a refreshing experience for me.
That's awesome. Can you give us an example of something that you had in your brain, and then when you put it on the floor, it didn't happen like you thought, and then you had to fix it? Because I mean, that happens to everybody, Brian.
My entire first draft of drill for the show. There was a section where they were in windowed lines, but we did have soloists in the center of the floor, which looked fine when we staged it, and it looked fine in Pieware. But as soon as they had equipment in choreo, it looked terrible. You could not see the soloist in the center of the field, or in the center of the floor. So that was something that needed to be reworked, and that was kind of a facepalm moment of that seems so obvious now, but when I was writing it, I didn't even think about it.
Okay, so tell us how you fixed it.
Rewrote it. I wrote it in a way that we used up more of the floor. So I staged rifles and flags in opposite corners, doing their exposed choreo at different times, and we had our soloists taking up the center of the floor.
But the thing was, it was very helpful because you had this idea, you put it on the floor, and then you saw, and then you changed it to make it work. Like, Joe, this is the process for no matter what kind of group you're writing for. If you can write it and then see it and then learn.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember my very first drill, my first time writing, everything was just way too compressed to the front sideline. You know, it was all just, and we had so many judges tapes that came back. And high school marching band's a little bit different because once you have so many kids in the band, and and they really only have time to learn it one time. Maybe the ending you can tweak or change a little bit, but it's got to be right that first time. And I was getting all those judges' comments going, you need to use the field, spread out. You're too, everything is too condensed and too compact. And that was a huge eye-opening experience for me. And then learning about quadrants and all the other ways to think about writing and making a moment in each zone in the shows and spreading the field and doing that. Those little things you learn. And, then I think the next evolution of my writing was every one of your moments takes place on the 50-yard line. And I was like, so I had to change that. And then after that, it was, your guard is on side one the entire show. So then, so those are all just like little rules and little things about after you've done it for a while, you start to say to yourself, okay, when are my moments when I'm going to integrate the guard? When are my moments when I'm going to bring them forward? When are the moments when I'm going to have them behind? And, and it's just those things that you can only learn when you're in that situation and when you collaborate with somebody else, when you get that feedback. In our case, in my case, my first ones, the only feedback I got was once we got judges' tapes. So it was a harsh pill to swallow, but you had to just listen to it and go, okay, well, maybe we can do a little bit of this season, but next season I definitely know. And you just make a little list and try to fix it for next time.
Yeah, everybody, we're talking about how to write drill today. This is Joe Holes. He's over in the UK. He created the course, How to Write Drill, Pieware and Drill Design Basics. You can find it, Marching Arts Education. And Brian is here. He's a student at Purdue. He's a tuba player in the Boston Crusaders. Brian, I cannot wait to cheer for you this summer. And he is smart enough to have gotten some help and been a part of these classes. So, Joe, there's the online course that anybody can take. Takes a couple hours. Anybody can go through that on their own. But tell me again about these classes, because you have 2 more coming up in May. Is that right?
Yeah, we do. We have on May the 7th and May the 21st. They're both Saturdays. I try to do Saturdays because what I'm finding is I'm getting a lot of band directors. And so I didn't want to have those band directors have to give up their Sunday, number one, because that was always important to me when I was a band director, having Sunday off. And then as well, trying to make it's a 3-hour block in the morning, 9 to noon Eastern Standard Time. And the first session of the month, we go through the assignment and I show you how I would plan and organize my thoughts so that I could successfully begin writing. And then the second session on the 21st, which would be May the 21st, is when we go through everyone's work. So they turn it in the night before. I kind of comb through them so I have an idea of what to talk about the next day. And then we kind of go one by one and start looking at them. We'll fix them. I'll fix them kind of live right there with Pieware open. We spend a lot of time sharing my screen, which has Pieware on it, and they just kind of watch me fix it. And I think that's also another, helpful tool to see, what ways do I use, what tools do I use to do things? And, did I do it the fastest, most efficient way, or did I do it my old school, can't teach a old dog new tricks way? Because I still do some things that I probably could do a little bit more efficiently. But yeah, and then there's just lots of feedback, just everyone asking questions and talking. And we've had guest speakers lined up as well, people to talk. Dr. Chester Phillips, who was going to come on in and chat and share his Pieware experience and everything. So it's good fun to just kind of get together, talk shop, and work on a real world scenario. When it comes to the marching arts. I also think it's really beneficial too, even if you're not going to be a visual designer, but you're a band director and you want to take charge of the visual design side of your program. That doesn't necessarily mean you want to write the drill for your show, but it does mean when you get the drill for your show, especially nowadays with things like Ultimate Drill Book and some of the files that are associated with Pieware, you probably should have a Pieware subscription. And if you can get those files, you can upload to Ultimate Drill Book. You can, help make any little changes if you know how to do it in the software. And if you've got that experience, you can use that to, to enhance your program. Then you don't have to wait on your drill designer. Sometimes right in the heat of it, that person, that designer is really busy. And so if you're able to do a 10-minute quick fix on a tune and get the kids the dots, you're in the money, and you don't have to wait. So it's good. And a lot of, on that note as well, I have a band director's guide to Pieware channel. I have my YouTube channel, but it's one of my playlists. And I made a couple of videos about how to make a video of your drill. So if your drill designer sends you the 3D files and you look at the Pieware files, it shows you how to do that. Or if you need how to make the coordinate sheets, if you did adjust something, how to print those PDFs, and some of my tips and tricks on how to do that, or how to make the coordinate PDFs or the drill chart PDFs. So there's lots of little band director's guide to Pieware videos in there that can help, or how to make a block form so you can make a basics block and assign it to everybody before they even come to band camp, and you already know your rank leaders and all that stuff. So it's good to know the software, and you can use it to really, really boost your efficiency in rehearsal if you just have those that little bit of knowledge on how to use it.
Yeah, everybody that's on I think everybody that's on the field, that's an instructor or director or any kind, needs to have some idea of how this works, right? If you're going to be handed a chart, you're going to be trying to teach it, having some basic knowledge of Pieware, I think is certainly for band directors. But Brian, you're a visual instructor guy, and you decided to learn Pieware and start to write drill. But do you not think that having the understandings of how it works and having now more knowledge in your head about how drill is written, it's going to help you be a better instructor and teach drill better?
I'm very sure that that's going to be the case. I mean, being able to just, on an intuitive side, just see into the mind of the drill designer in a way lets you see why they did certain things, how they might want. Maybe there's a pass through that doesn't have as much instruction in the comment box. You can see, well, if I was the drill writer, I know I would want it to work this way. I'm sure this is what was going on in their head. It just helps you put yourself in the drill writer's shoes, even if you're not looking to write drill.
Yeah. So Brian, you helped a Winter Guard and you helped stage it. And then what was it like the moment when you saw that first performance and they were out there on the floor and you were like, wow, I did that. How did that feel?
It didn't really hit me until they announced under the direction of so, and then I was last name on there and I was like, wow, I finally made it.
You arrived.
Yeah, it was really surreal, and I was so proud of the kids, and so grateful to them for letting me be a part of that with them. But
it's awesome. And listen, this is the way it works. Everybody, if you want to be a drill writer, you do exactly what Brian did, which is you make connections. You get into any group. You gain their trust. They find out you're a good person. They can trust you. You want to help, and then they give you a chance, and then you're there. And you work as hard as you can, and you have your first experience of trying to do it, making your mistakes, fixing them, all of that stuff. This is the way this works. And Brian, you are off to a great start. And I think it's really smart that you had the wherewithal to say, okay, I'm going to take these classes. I'm going to sign up for this course, and I'm going to do. It's why did you decide to do that? Because that really is not something everybody would do.
I figured that if I owed it to the kids I was working with to give them the best product I could. And I felt that without some sort of instruction in how to do it, I was not going to be able to do that for them. So that's why I did it.
Yeah, that's great. So Joe, we have 2 more classes coming up in May. The course, How to Write Drill, Pieware and Drill Design Basics. Anybody can take it. Just takes a couple hours of your time in your own spare time, everybody. It takes you through the basics of Pieware and the basics of how to write drill, what the concepts are, of how that works. Joe's already mentioned during this conversation about sort of the process of how that works and helping you be organized, which, as Brian said, really, really pays off. And as a drill writer, I will tell you that is absolutely true. We can sit here and talk for hours about all of this. I would love to spend more time talking about the integration and staging of Color Guard, which is a giant thorn in a lot of people's side. They don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But we're kind of out of time. So Joe, what do you want to, we'll start wrapping this up. What else do you want to say? Anything we didn't talk about that you want to say?
No, I'm just really happy that Brian is here. I thought he did a great job, and it obviously his kids are going to benefit from him taking that leap and being organized and going for it. And he's just got a really bright future. So I'm really proud of him. And I hope you have a great summer, Brian. I will definitely be cheering you on flow marching and on the sideline, or maybe I'll get to a live show. Actually, we're coming over to the States for most of the tour. Actually, we'll be over there this summer. So hopefully we'll be able to pick up a show and see you, man. It's really good stuff. My website, if you're interested, is DrillDesignSolutions.com, and you can sign up there for my sessions. If you just click on the Educate tab at the top, it takes you down and you can see some of the sessions, and there's a Google form there. And there's also links to my YouTube and the tutorial on marchingartseducation.com as well there. So I have 2 more slots for writing for the fall. So if you're interested and you need a drill for the fall, also you can contact me through my website. So
very cool. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So Brian, how are we going to pick you out in the show? Everybody, to finish up today, Brian is going to tell us everything he knows about the Boston show.
Brian, what's the show called?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm pretty sure Keith Potter watches these, and so does Gino. Yeah. So I'm going to get in trouble if I say that.
No, if you told us, you'd have to kill us. I know how that works in drum corps. But anyway, We're excited about seeing now. Everybody, look at his face. Everybody, remember this, because when you see him out on the field, you can say, "I saw that guy get interviewed by that ridiculous beast guy, and he was really smart drill writer." So anyway, Brian, maybe this will help have more people want to hire you and give you a chance. What do you want to say in closing, Brian?
My recommendation for anybody else who wants to get started is take that leap. Put yourself in a position that makes it so that you have no choice but to learn it. For me, that was buying Pieware. Is that I put money into this. It's time to get good at it, and also just pick out the people that you want to learn from. So, in my case, that's the people I personally have marched for and learned from: Leon May, Lindsay Schuler, people like that who have just always been an inspiration to me in the visual design world. So make sure you have those people in mind when you write.
Absolutely. And I have to say that you can hear from Leon and Lindsay and lots of others on our website at marchingartseducation.com. Just put their name in. Anybody that you think is a great drill writer, there's a good chance that they might be in a webinar and sharing some of their expertise and their secrets on our website. So go to marchingartseducation.com and check that out. And while you're there, click on the courses and find the How to Write Drill course and look that up and see. Like I said, just a couple hours to help guide you through. Joe, we can all use more information. We can all use more knowledge. The more great ideas, the better off for all of us.
Absolutely. Yep. And working together, and collaborating and getting that feedback. That's the biggest thing. Just gleaning from other people and showing them, and then they give you their feedback and you work together, and it's infinitely beneficial.
Very cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Again, Joe Holes, drill designer extraordinaire, thank you for being here and sharing your expertise. Brian Arzola, we're going to be watching you because I'm expecting to see one of your drills out on the field in a big, big way one day soon. So thank you for taking time to join us too.
It's a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. Have a good day.